We have one more talk that we'd like to squeeze in this afternoon, and it's going to be Ms. Katie Jones. She's with Batelle and the National Ecological Observation Network, or NEON, and she's going to talk about the NEON Observatory, an open data resource for tracking drivers and impacts of climate change on ecological communities.
Thank you, and thank you, April, for organizing this meeting. This has been amazing, and so many amazing, inspiring speakers today. So I'm going to end the day mostly talking about a tool and not telling as many exciting stories, but I hope it's useful, and I hope it's interesting, and I'm looking for the opportunity to build new collaborations. So, Oki, ki nitsiksi Nitsiksip, Nitaniko Katie Jones, Nitanakawa Abarapo, Nimototu, Amskapi Pekani, Siksitakaitapi. My name is Katie Jones, and that is the first time I have ever introduced myself in my language in public. Still working on it. But I'm a plant ecologist with the National Ecological Observatory Network. I am Southern Pagan Blackfeet, called Abatapo. My name comes to me from an ancestor, my great-great-grandmother, going to Weasel, who was a plant collector for the Blackfeet people. I am of both indigenous and European descent, but most of my experience and training comes from a Western perspective. So that is the lens that I'm going to be speaking through about the observatory, the NEON Observatory today. But I want to add that in my role at NEON, I am an active member of the Rising Voices Center for Indigenous and Earth Sciences, and a member of the Indigenous Phenology Network. So I, within NEON, am seeking opportunities to bring Indigenous data sovereignty issues in open data repositories forward. And I am really looking for opportunities to engage with Indigenous researchers on that topic. So that's my plug. I don't have a World Cafe table tomorrow, but find me, and I would love to talk about it. So how many folks here are familiar with the NEON Observatory? Oh, that's actually more than I expected. Okay, so some of this will be review, but quickly I will go over kind of a high-level look at the observatory, the types of data that are available, and then discuss NEON activities locally and provide a few examples of how NEON data may be used to explore specific species of interest in the data. Next. Okay. So the NEON project is a continental-scale ecological observatory science facility that is solely funded by the National Science Foundation and operated by Batelle. It is a 30-year project that provides a highly coordinated national system for monitoring a number of critical ecological and environmental properties. We provide free and open data available to anyone in the public. And we are designed to be scalable, standardized, and spatially integrated design that ensures interoperability and with existing national and international network science projects. So the idea is really to, be able to work with data that already exist and be useful in many different types of projects. As a science facility, NEON's primary purpose is to enable science by providing a community-wide resource. So another example of a science facility in this context would be a construction and operation of an ocean research vessel or a telescope that provides opportunities for many scientists to propose, collect, and use data. So we aren't asking the questions, we are just helping provide data that is relevant to the questions. So this is the observatory. The NEON Observatory operates 81 field sites, 47 terrestrial sites, and 34 aquatic sites. We've divided the country into 20 domains or ecoregions that are located across the contiguous U.S., Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and Alaska. And we produce 180 distinct data products from sampling at those sites. Data collection occurs on a combination of 3 different collection platforms. We have automated instruments, observational sampling, and the airborne remote sensing platform. Data collected through these 3 systems may be studied individually or in conjunction with one another, since they are all spatially co-located. And the idea is really to get a picture from sky to soil, and then stick around and watch and see how that picture changes over time in response to climate change. So our instrumented data collection includes meteorological measurements like precipitation, temperature, gas fluxes that are collected from fixed towers and met stations. In situ soil sensors and water sensors. And fixed cameras collecting repeat images of the canopy and understory vegetation, as well as snow and water depth. Observational sampling includes all of the measurements that require a field team on site to collect the data. At all terrestrial sites, NEON measures and observes in situ plants, animals, microbes, and collects data related to themes of plant diversity, abundance, pathogens, biogeochemistry, phenology, and biomass and productivity. So these plant data are really where you would find the most in-depth data about specific species of interest. And then at aquatic sites, we measure much of the same, we cover the same themes as they relate to aquatic animals and processes. And then finally, the airborne remote sensing data are collected at all terrestrial sites and most aquatic sites. Flights occur during the peak green window at each site when other observational activities or data collection is ongoing. And these data provide site-wide information about ecological conditions such as vegetation composition, structure, health, hydrology, and drainage patterns, and land cover. So that is the 4-minute story of NEON from 10,000 feet. And in the remaining time, I was hoping to share a little bit of data from this region. So here in Sulphur, we are on the border of the Southern Plains, NEON Domain 11, and the Ozarks Complex, NEON Domain 8, that's to the east. There are 4 field sites in this region, 2 terrestrial sites and 2 aquatic. In northern Texas, we have the Lyndon B. Johnson National Grassland terrestrial site and the co-located Pringle Creek site. In Oklahoma are the Marvin Clemmy Range Research Station and Blue River Aquatic Site, which is about 20 miles east of where we are right now. In the coming decades, this region is projected to be under intense pressure from climate change. Hotter summers, more frequent and intense droughts, more frequent and intense extreme rainfall events are some of the forecasted impacts in the coming years. So data from NEON will allow researchers to monitor changes in precipitation and temperature patterns over the 30-year lifespan of the program, and also the associated impacts on terrestrial and aquatic plant and animal communities. So briefly, I'm going to share a little bit of data from 2 of these sites. First, the National Grassland, the LBJ National Grassland terrestrial site, and then some data from Blue River. Okay. So I live in Colorado. I was raised in lots of places, but I am not from here. So I do not have a relationship with the plants in this region. And so acknowledging that, I chose a model species to talk about, to explore how stories might come from NEON data about a local species. So I chose post oak, Quercus stellata. It's a dominant species in the region, and this species is used as a resource by humans and non-human relatives in these habitats, and it's very important for ecosystem function in the forests and woodlands. It may be a proxy for other species of interest in oakland ecosystems. The data that I'm going to present come from the LBJ National Grassland, as I mentioned, which is not a local site per se. It is about 80 miles south of here. And though it's not local, I think it can also be it can still be useful for considering whether locally observed trends are occurring at regional scales, and to provide a long-term quantitative data set that can be assessed alongside perceived changes over time from other sources. So starting with phenology, which is near and dear to my heart. But phenology is the study of the timing of annual developmental events and the environmental drivers that affect when those events occur. At CLBJ, that is the acronym that we use to quickly refer to the grassland, LBJ grassland site. At CLBJ, phenology observations are made on 30 mature post-oak individuals along an 800-meter transect. Observations are made once a week, all year long. And so observers will note kind of when bud break happens, track the progression of development of leaves, and then track annual senescence and return to dormancy. So with these data, we can see, and I'll show you some data now. It's about to show up. There it is. We can see the kind of on the lower end, the timing and synchrony of bud break in this species at this site, as well as on the top, the annual end of season or return to dormancy, as well as the seasonal or the duration of the growing season for this species. And we can see that there is a fair bit of variability in when the season starts from year to year. And as you see in 2020, quite a bit of variability is possible among individuals within the population at the site. But it does appear that the senescence phase, the return to dormancy, is a fairly synchronized event for this species at this site. With this in mind, we can then investigate data coming from the automated instruments. So in this case, I plotted air temperature, and I'm not drawing any conclusions about what this means, just trying to demonstrate that we have these different sources of information that we can compare in a co-located fashion. Next. Okay, I thought that wasn't there. So the first picture was a nice picture of a couple survey plots. But the plant diversity data is collected at CLBJ in both grassland and woodland sites, and is measured. Abundance of species is measured as a percent cover in a 6 1-meter square sampling plots within a larger 20 by 20 meter plot. So this spatial resolution and sampling is best suited really to look at the herbaceous community and the seedling community, So each of these points is one of those, is oak cover for one of those plots, and probably only represents the seedling community at the site. So clearly no exciting trends to share, but trends that emerge from these data could tell us something about the next generation of oak at this site. And then finally, a vegetation survey, vegetation structure surveys measure stem diameter, plant height, and health of mature individuals. And then these data can be used to calculate above ground biomass and be able to give us a look into the behavior of the plant in both the live and dead portion, standing dead portion, and see how biomass trends change over time. So this is really focused on those mature individuals at the site. So as I mentioned, none of the data have any dramatic trends or any definitive thing to say. We only have 4 years of data at this site. But the value in NEON data is that it will be collected continuously for 30 years. And these data may help to understand dynamics kind of at the regional scale over the longer time span of the project. And then moving on to Blue River, the aquatic site. Blue River is in the Okayanahili Preserve and holds the distinction as being the most diverse site in terms of number of fish species of any lake, river, or stream that is in the NEON network. So it's a very special body of water. And in thinking about how data at this site might inform questions about culturally sensitive plant species, I thought a lot about the relationship between stream health and riparian plants and looked to the survey of aquatic macroinvertebrates. So there's a picture of macroinvertebrates being sampled at Blue River. And the aquatic macroinvertebrate surveys occur 3 times a year in the spring, summer, and fall. And the sensitivity of macroinvertebrates to environmental change makes these organisms ideal for use in environmental monitoring programs. So the presence of the EPT taxa, which are Ephemeroptera, Plecoptera, and Trichoptera, are often targeted in environmental monitoring programs since these taxa are particularly sensitive to changes in pollutants and sedimentation in the water column. And if water quality degrades, these are the first taxa that are expected to drop out of the community. So at this site, we can see that the EPT taxa are present in relatively high abundance at this site. It is a very healthy waterway. And the regular surveys of these macroinvertebrates could provide insight into the health of the stream and the riparian system moving forward as well. So that was a quick introduction to a couple NEON data products. But in addition to serving ecological data, NEON provides research support for working with climate and environmental data and teaching climate change data skills in the classroom. Even implementing data collection at non-NEON sites through our mobile deployment platform, which is pictured here. And that's basically a mini NEON tower with all of the same instruments that you would find on one of the larger towers that are available for researchers to deploy at their local sites to address questions of interest that they have and may not be covered by another NEON site or another monitoring program. Our domain staff participate in outreach events with local schools, career fairs, and support community-driven research projects through the AGU Thriving Earth Exchange program. And I think that's what I have for you. I really look forward to discussing ways that NEON data and resources may support your local research goals, and exploring new ways to collaborate across knowledge systems. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. 660 Matsitsi. Thank you.